Hey climbers, what if the place you come home to after a mental health crisis could either help you heal or hold you back?
When my daughter came home from the hospital, I knew that the walls around us had to change too. This episode is about how we rebuilt her room and in many ways rebuilt our relationship, learning the difference between isolation and rest, privacy and safety, and what it really takes to make a home a healing space again.
Welcome to Mom and Me Climbing Mountains Together, a podcast about showing up for each other in the messy middle of life. I'm Lainey, and alongside my mom, Ashley, we're sharing our story of navigating mental health, identity, family, and all the ups and downs that come with growing up and parenting at the same time.
We don't have all the answers. What we do have are honest conversations, sometimes heavy, sometimes hopeful, but always real. Our hope is that by climbing these mountains together out loud, you'll feel a little less alone in your own journey.
So, let's take a deep breath, settle in, and let's begin.
So we'll start off this episode with, once again, a mom disclaimer. If you're experiencing a mental health or physical health crisis, an emergency, please call 911. 988 is there for mental health needs. If you're having a crisis, you can text or call them. Whether or not you get through this entire episode, we totally understand. We are talking about a heavy topic. This one should be a little bit lighter than the first couple episodes. So, stop, pause, come back. We're just glad you're here at all. So this episode is our Finding Help Along the Way Part 2 series. We're talking about our home environment. And for you, Lainey, on your journey, obviously this is a really big one because your home is the first place you were going to go after the hospitalization and the outpatient program.
Yeah.
It's your main safe space. It's where your personal space is. It's where your main support system is. And I know as your parent, what happens at home has a huge impact on everything else you're doing, right? Mm-hmm. It's where we can interact behind closed doors. And we all know that there's all sorts of stuff going on behind people's closed doors that we're unaware of.
Anything could happen.
So you were done with outpatient. We knew that we had to start you on therapy. We knew that we had to start you on medications, and that would be a journey, getting meds balanced, right?
Yeah.
It's not, while some medications were, quick reacting, it still takes a toll on your body. It still can help your body in unexpected ways in the future. So quite a few meds like that will take a very, very long time. It could take quite a few months in order to really see exactly what's happening with it. Mm-hmm. And I know for me, when we were in the episode where we were talking about your outpatient and that visit with the doctor or the counselor that we were with, and I had asked her what I could do as a parent to learn and grow and change. I had also, we talked about Dad and I asking you what needed to be different at home in order for it to maybe feel less dark and more inviting. So when you first came home, do you remember seeing the actual physical change in the living room space?
From what I can remember is that it's actually kind of hard to remember right now because of how different it has become. But one, my allergies were really bad when I came back
Yeah.
because of all of our pets. And two, it did feel darker, but also because I was under hospital fluorescent lights 24/7 in the hospital. And we do have warm light bulbs. I don't know what it is called specifically, but it's a warmer light that is for more intimate and inviting spaces, while a cold light can be in a hospital, a school, a more public facility. And so
It's a heck of a lot brighter.
yes, it is. And that was what I was thankful for as well, just because it was more welcoming and easier to ease into. I feel like I'm using the same words, but
Well, there was
that's really-
newness for everyone,
yeah.
right? And that's kind of what I was going for also. It's like, we're going through this change with you.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember seeing how different your room was?
Yes. So going up the stairs and going to the room, I was feeling like some dread in me because remembering what the room was like, I had my bed in the corner and it was an open area with my siblings. Excuse me. And there wasn't a whole lot of privacy. So I was just
Like
thinking.
one big, huge, giant room that you kids were all in.
Yeah, and there's windows everywhere, all on the two outer walls. And so I was just thinking, man, I'm not going to have any privacy at all. It's just going to be like the hospital where everyone can see what I'm doing and I don't have a chance to fully be by myself. And then when I turned to go to the room off the stairs, I immediately saw this wall that separated the room into two halves. And I saw the sun curtain that acted as a door. I'm just thinking, what makeshift DIY Etsy craft shop is in the house right now?
Yeah.
What is this?
Mm-hmm.
And I saw the ceiling. It was so different too. And I remember walking in and it was just, it looked like a Pinterest post of an aesthetic room. That's probably what you searched up. But
Oh, I dove deep into my Pinterest boards. Yes.
yeah, it was so much brighter. All of the colors were warm. There was new bedding, like you had said previously. It had pink, orange, yellow.
This before you were like black, white, and gray.
Yes. Yeah. And everything was open. My closet was open and the sun was shining in through it. And one thing that stood out to me was the TV that you put in there because I never would have imagined having one in my room ever because of like how I grew up. But yeah, and seeing the desk underneath it with the art supplies that you guys had gotten me.
Yeah.
That was, I felt seen because what I said as to what I needed, you guys listened and there was an actual result of me saying what I needed.
Yeah.
And so, as well as getting a very cool, nice room, thank you for that, by the way. I also learned that asking for help can get you far.
Yeah. So, listeners, I would say, probably spent about $400 in doing this whole renovation. And I know that not a lot of people have that sort of money. We bought her about like a 30 something inch, like a smaller TV. And then honestly think the most expensive thing was the arm, the like swiveling arm, to actually wall mount the TV. That thing was actually really expensive. But what we did is we had kind of turned her bed to the side. So it opened up way more floor space. We used the same bed. The bedding that we purchased, I mean, I found stuff that was on crazy clearance at Target, bought that. So that completely changed everything. Actually had the wall mount so that she could use the TV as like an additional monitor for her homework if she needed, but she could also turn it and have it face towards the bed. So she wanted to actually lounge in there and watch a show that was different from, whatever the kids were watching downstairs or her dad and I. She could actually have that space, and it was a smart TV. So I don't know, 100 something bucks. So those were the most expensive purchases for sure. The room divider, we needed to do that anyways. And that was the plan that we had when we had first moved up there. But we had lived up in the house maybe about 6 months with everything going on. So we hadn't quite gotten to it. So take out another $100. And honestly, maybe up to $200 at most, you could completely do a whole new renovation, but you can get crafty with it. There's thrift stores. We use Savers up here. There's stuff on Facebook Marketplace. You can be really, really crafty and not feel like you have to like break the bank just to make a little bit of change. We decided to spend, $400 really isn't that much for a whole entire renovation if you think about it for a room. But we decided to spend that because we already had the plans to kind of do something different with her room. But when I heard her tell her dad and I that everything was just so dark and she just didn't feel good in the space and that she needed privacy, I was like, okay, she's going into high school. We need to celebrate that and make it like a good thing instead of like a dreadful thing. But it did need to be new and different. And we did need to actually like really put forth a lot of effort so she knew she wasn't by herself. So that's why we did that.
Yeah, with that little change alone, I felt my energy like completely shifting. My outlook towards the future in the room was different, and I felt like I had my own personal space because I didn't have that for a little under a year.
Yeah.
And
you were growing a lot and changing a lot. And yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
So while personal space is important, one of the things that we needed to navigate together, all of us, even your younger siblings, and dad and the animals, is the topic of personal space versus shared space. And how the anxiety and depression that you were feeling, you needed a combination of both personal and shared space to make you better. However, isolation was a very sharp symptom that you were in a very low place that day, kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And now as your parent, never having a teenager before, and not all teenagers are the same, right? Her dad and I struggled with the idea of, so when do we let her be alone? When do we make her come downstairs and be around everyone? And so what we're going to talk about is what worked for us, not necessarily what will work for you. However, that's just the point, right? Is parent and teenager potentially listening right now, you all have to figure out what works. So maybe this will help be a guide. We, at that discharge appointment, had established some key words and phrases between the professional provider, right? Mm-hmm. Between you, Lainey, and between Dad and I as your parents, excuse me. So that if we thought you were wanting to be alone, like if you made a statement of, hey, I'm going to go up to my room, and for whatever reason, if we thought that it was an unsafe choice to do that, we would be able to say, are you okay to be alone by yourself right now? And we had to trust you, Lainey, that you would be honest in your response to us, right? And I feel like, yeah, there's probably been some times where you lied, fibbed a little because you just didn't want to deal with us, but you probably knew deep inside that isolating was probably not the right choice. And I could tell some of those moments because I would wait a couple minutes, and I'm sure you remember me coming upstairs and just double checking.
Yeah.
But I also had to rely on you in that moment of double checking, of being gracious enough, emotionally intelligent enough, and maybe patient enough for me to say, I don't actually feel like you're okay. Do you want me to sit up here with you? Or some kind of statement to that effect, to where I said, maybe it's just me, but right now I don't feel like you can be safe by yourself. Am I wrong? And I feel like that's okay too, right? Because that's also an extra like, oh shoot, like, no, maybe I'm not okay right now. Because I think there were moments when I did that double check where you're like, yeah, actually I'll come back downstairs. Or you're like, you know what? I am having a bad day, but I really, really just need to sleep right now. And I think that was okay, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I still think we kind of do it even now.
Yeah.
A lot of it is just my energy level. There would be times where I had a bad day, but also school is so exhausting when coming back because I'm used to a certain schedule that isn't so taxing on the mind, and then I come back to the routine of reality in life, and it was so taxing on my energy battery, and I would just need to come home and just sleep.
Yeah.
And I think that was on our plan because before I was in the hospital, I did sleep a lot, and that is a really big symptom of depression, especially when oversleeping and constantly sleeping, even when you're not actually tired. I think you guys recognize some of those patterns, but
you're also a teenager and you're growing like crazy and you're going through puberty. So like teenagers do medically need more sleep.
Exactly. And technically humans are supposed to take a nap in the middle of the day to preserve energy. Anyways, not just for kids.
Just saying.
Saying we should change it. Have some nap time during high school. Anyways, getting off track. I would come home, and when you guys checked on me, I'd be like, yeah, I'm okay. I do want to come down, but also I'm really tired. Can I go take a 30-minute nap or an hour of just time to myself so I can relax and have a break from my siblings and the chaos of our small area.
Well, of the life that you are living in, that Dad and I have built right? And I want to point this out too, because, parents, if you're listening, like, this is your life that you've built. Your child did not choose to be born. Do they actually have a say in the environment that they're living in? I didn't ask you, Lainey, what color, bedding and all that she liked. That was all reactionary. And I even admitted, if you really don't like it, I will not honestly be upset. We can go change it. I have receipts. But do your kids have any type of say in what's happening? Right? We decided to have 2 more kids after you. We decided to put those kids in events and sports and whatever. We decided to have multiple pets so you kids would learn what it's like to grow up with pets and the chaos and the ups and downs of that. But that's not your life you chose for yourself. You are leading up to the point where you can create your own life. So it's not even anything else. It's maybe your kid really doesn't actually like their home environment. Like, is there something there that we can change? I think, Lainey, you and I, with the way that events have happened with choices that I made, as a single mom, you and I, through ups and downs, have developed a far more open dialogue and a stronger bond than maybe a lot of parents, especially with multiple kids, get to build and get to have.
For sure.
But also being in that sort of mode and mindset, we can trigger each other emotionally and see through the BS and the walls way more too. Right?
Yeah.
So knowing she had a hard day, school starting, she's a freshman after the summer break, which was nice, but summer was so chaotic because there's kids and pets and there's activities. Knowing that she's going to school all day long, she has people that she does not potentially like that she has to be with every single day. It's not like a job where she can just leave her job and go get another one. She has teachers that she has to be around. You had 7 or 8 different hours of classes, different class blocks, right?
6.
So from 8 a.m. to 2 something p.m., just generally speaking, you're in an environment that, again, you're potentially not making a choice to be in. Having to go through all these things and deal with all this stuff, being a teenager, being exhausted, your body's changing, and then having additional things on top of it that you have to heal from, just like breaking an arm. Now, we all have to figure out how to get along and help support each other, but not knowing if you are suicidal in that moment or just being an a-hole teenager. Or you, on the other hand, looking at me being like, is she just being neurotic right now? Like, my mom is going insane. She needs to get off my back. That was hard. So in this finding help along the way episode, I think what we're trying to say is the shared space, the home environment, physically and mentally, can be its own catalyst for growth and or destruction. Mm-hmm. And we somehow, not perfectly, through ups and downs and yelling and crying and happy tears and hugs and just dance, battles, we found a way every single day, sometimes hour by hour, different ways to interact with each other to make it through that growth period. But from beyond that, like, we've had some very, very heavy discussions of college and what are you going to do when you graduate? And, what do you want to be when you grow up? And all this pressure is on her But as an adult, I'm going to be 40. I'm still working on what I want to be when I grow up. Right? So I think we all need to be aware of all the pressures and everything that's really happening in our home life. Am I actually being a supportive mom while maintaining, the firm guidelines and expectations for her? So with that, are you as a parent really thinking and considering those things? But kids, I'm going to point something out. I'm going to mom you for a moment. Yes, it is so natural going through the growth of independence as a teenager and puberty and all the hormone changes and everything you're dealing with, and being probably tired of your parents, right? Having to go through whatever drama, because you're a big kid now. You know how the world works. I'm being funny. I'm going to challenge you on this. And I've had conversations with you, Lainey, about this as well. You know that your parents care about you, whether you agree or disagree, regardless of the environment. If they're making an effort to be in your life in any way and contributing in any way, there is a love there. There's a responsibility, right? There's a duty, and that's not always love, but there is something emotionally and physically that they are doing to help take care of you. Whether they're right or wrong, way out in left field, if your parent is asking you if you are okay, my challenge to you is tell them no if the answer is no. Am I wrong?
No. But it can be hard speaking up and asking for help. It really can be, because as much as you do want to tell them or not tell them, I guess, sometimes you just don't want to tell people how you're feeling. Sometimes you'd rather just figure it out yourself. But if a loved one does ask if you're doing okay and for the truth, do try and say a little bit instead of saying, yeah, I'm good. For example, you could say, I'm doing all right. It was a weird day. Still processing it. Or you could even just say, I'm tired. There was a lot that went on today. Or there's a lot going on. And even that can be still vague, but it can give them a sense that there is something up with me right now. But if I'm not explaining it further, I don't really want to talk about it right now.
So on my end, I have tried hard to kind of break out of like just inherited like old school parenting styles, right? Like my way or the highway kind of thing. Just to be very general there. I'm more accepting now, knowing you've been in high school and you're growing older. And obviously it's taken time to establish this relationship. But I have gotten to a point where if I'm doing something that is bothering you, I want you and expect you to say it in a courteous enough manner, right? Because we're all still human. So that there can be that dialogue there. So what are your thoughts for our listeners of I don't want to get political, but there's a huge politically charged environment in the world. There's things like gender identities and sexual identities. There's all kinds of stuff that's like all up in everybody's face right now.
Yeah.
And what if there is a family dynamic, or maybe the teen is LGBTQ plus, maybe they identify as being queer and their family is maybe very strict, conservative, Christian, I don't know. And for whatever reason, they don't believe that someone like that is okay, or for whatever reason, right? How is it, do you think it's appropriate for that teen if their parent asks them, hey, are you doing okay right now? Or what's wrong with you? You look like you're upset. What if they put something together like, I don't want to disappoint you, but I'm frustrated with you right now. I'm frustrated with something you said. And I don't know that I don't know that we need to get into the political thing, but I feel like you and I being able to talk about how we can interact with each other is very privileged compared to how other parent-child relationships are.
For sure.
I really want to kind of hammer on a couple other like strong phrases that are not attacking, but getting to the point where the kid still feels safe. And I know I'm asking you this, and I know this is pretty heavy, especially for other people to hear, because I know you've always had a fear of disappointing me, and I am a very strong-minded person. What do you think that someone could say in an environment like that where they're not quite sure that they can say what's actually going on?
I'm not entirely sure. I don't necessarily think that I can fully say things for others, especially considering that we don't come from a religious background and I don't identify as queer, but I have gone through an identity crisis, as you've mentioned
Which
before.
LGBTQ plus or queer people, we're not making that connection that they're going through a crisis. I'd like to say this. Continue.
So sorry, I didn't mean it.
No, I didn't think you were. I just want to make sure people heard that. Keep going.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't fully associate myself as it, but as a supporter, it's really hard because I can sympathize with it. I do have friends who have told me that they're not accepted and welcomed in their household and they don't know what to do.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the time, I don't know what to say because we come from an open dialogue household.
Yeah.
Relatively open.
Mm-hmm.
And for advice, I don't want to necessarily say that it's okay to lie and just to lie when somebody says, are you okay? Because I think that there's something wrong with you. I'm checking in with you. I understand that it is hard to tell the truth. Like I said earlier, though, you can be more vague with your answer.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of saying straight up, I feel like a disappointment to you, you could say, I don't know. I don't exactly know what you could say.
Maybe like, I'm struggling with a lot right now.
Yeah. There's a lot going through my head right now. I can't put it to words.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just a lot. And you don't have to keep on answering consistent questions if they keep pestering.
Mm-hmm.
Because you did give them an answer. You don't have to fully explain yourself. And yeah, you don't have to always say the straight up blunt truth.
Mm-hmm. Like we do.
Yes.
The thing that I think I really worry about for listeners who are in crisis mode right now is we are still speaking from a point where we've climbed up that mountain together, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's literally why we named the podcast Mom and Me Climbing Mountains Together. And when you're down in that hole, in or out of a supportive home environment, it can be daunting to have to tell someone like a parent who is responsible for you, I'll just say it. I'm sorry, this is a trigger warning, right? I want to kill myself right now. I don't want to be alive. I don't know what to do about that. And what I want to say to anyone right now who's listening, who feels like that, if you can't say it at home, there is someone somewhere else that you can say it to. Again, 988. If you have extracurriculars, which we'll talk about in another episode, if you go to any sports, we'll talk about your school environment, your friends. Lainey, you just brought up friends. There is still someone. There's a website. You can look up Sophie Squad. You can look up, the mental health first aid training. You can go to 988. You can do any type of Google search or do, internet browser search on your phone to say, I'm feeling like this. What can I do about it? I know it's not right to want to kill myself right now, but I don't know what to do.
Just don't search up what's wrong with me. Don't do that. There's nothing
but
wrong
that's,
with you.
and I know, but they don't know that in that moment, right? That's the kind of negative self-talk that happens there. And I appreciate you saying that because listeners, if you feel like there's something wrong with you, you may just need help. You may need to find somewhere, someone else, anyone, whether, again, it be a website on an article you can read or something that gives you a good answer. If you have a friend, and I'm going to say this right now because I know there's been stuff in the news. If you have a friend saying you should just do it, you should just kill yourself, that is not your people.
Not at all. No.
I don't care how long they've been around you in your life. That is not your people. If you have a parent who is going all out and that's coming out of their mouth, there is something to be said for who they are on the inside. I am so sorry. I am so sorry if your parent does not love themselves enough and they want to take out whatever projections onto you and they are outright unloving or even abusive towards you. You are loved and you can share and shed light anywhere in this world. Just get yourself away from the darkness, right? Find a way to get through the situation that you're in right now, whether it's just listening to this episode over and over again and knowing that there are people like us who are like championing for you. Don't end your life. There's so much beauty in the world. If you've yet to find it, but you're listening to this, well, guess what? Here you go. There's some light. Find yourself your light. Build your own fire and shed your own light if you have to.
Yeah. You may not be able to see the top, the surface of the hole that you're in, but there is a way out. There always is a way out, even if it's small. If you keep going through your hole and there's an underground tunnel and there's no light, keep digging and keep searching for that light.
Yep.
Don't settle for what you're in right now because you deserve better.
Mm-hmm.
Don't stick with the darkness and say, oh, I deserve it anyways. I'm already thinking this. Why don't I just continue on? Don't do that. Don't do that. there's always light and there's always help.
There's always hope. And if you found us, then we're glad you're here.
Yeah. Even if it's not directly around you, it is in the world. And there are people out there who love you. Even if you don't know it yet, don't know them yet. They're in your future. They're waiting for you. And you need to keep going on that path.
And you're in someone else's future as a positive light as well. So we're glad you're here. Be good to yourself and just keep listening. We hope this episode's been helpful. We hope the whole podcast has. It's a pretty heavy note to end on, but
also happy at the same time, encouraging.
So stick around. The next episode, we're going to do more finding help along the way, part 3. We're going to talk about school environment, which is a pretty big one. So, yeah. Love you guys. See you next time.
Bye. Thanks for climbing this part of the mountain with us. These conversations aren't easy, but they matter. And we're grateful you're here, listening and walking alongside us.
If today's episode stirred something in you, take a moment to sit with it. Journal about it, share it with someone you trust. And if you're struggling, please remember you don't have to carry it alone. In the US, you can dial or text 988 for the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline anytime you need.
Thank you to the Anne Bancroft Foundation for fulfilling dreams with their grants to girls like me, to my incredible mentor, Jeba Edmonds, for the never-ending encouragement and kindness along the way, and to Asher Carlson, owner of the Duluth Creative Co., who helped bring our vision to life. You never know who you'll meet along the way. We'll meet you here again soon with more stories that remind us none of us climb alone. Until then, hold on to hope, take the next step, and keep climbing.